today. The 2020 CARES Act with enhanced unemployment benefits cost $900 billion over a year and a half, followed by then the 2021 Appropriations Act, and then ARPA, of course, has, in addition to generating extraordinary inflationary pressures that our American economy, businesses, and individual Americans struggle under today. In addition to that, it resulted in a decrease in workforce participation. The ranking member was bragging about so-called job creation under the Biden administration, and yet workforce participation is at a historic low. We have 7.6 million unfilled jobs. And I would note that 60% of all job creation since 2021 has been recovery of job loss during the pandemic, not new job creation. And I would further note that 22% of all new jobs created in 2024 were government jobs, not jobs in the private sector. And finally, that in 2024, the last year of the Biden administration, the average inflation rate was 4%, compared to the pre-Trump, pre-COVID inflation rate, unemployment rate of 3.5%. You know, we talk a lot when we're in this committee. We talk a lot about skilled workforce training, career and technical education, but a lot of this job loss has been in entry-level jobs, the kind of jobs one might take in small business franchises, in the hospitality industry, in the hotel industry. And could you comment, Ms. Pronounce your name for me, I apologize. Mayetta, could you comment about the effect of that loss of entry-level workers? Because I think I was once in an interview, a hostile interview. He said, well, you Republicans want everyone to be punching a clock. And I said, well, my first 3 jobs were I punched a clock. Are you demeaning the value of that? And I think this loss of entry-level workers in our economy has been devastating. Would you care to comment on that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Congressman, for the question. You know, as I said earlier in my testimony, the hotel industry is down some 200,000 jobs since the pandemic. It has been increasingly difficult to fill those positions. We have tried to be as competitive as possible by raising wages 15% faster than the national average, expanding our benefits, making sure that, you know, some members have started to implement sign-on bonuses, offering transportation credits, health care for part-time employees, discounts and perks, and yet we are still seeing difficulty in hiring and competing with, you know, big box retail that has millions of dollars to invest in advertising. A lot of our small businesses simply can't compete with that. One thing that is critically important for our industry is the H-2B legal guest worker program. So many of my members rely on that to fill especially peak and seasonal jobs. Some of my members are actually in town today to meet with your colleagues here on the Hill from the resort and independent community. And one member was telling me that he has a resort on a small island that inhabits 500 people, including babies. And at peak season, he employs 5,000 people. Without the H-2B program, he would simply not be able to function.
Sure. Thank you. And yeah, Mr. Beach, you made a number of points about macroeconomics. Would you care to comment? Yes.
Well, I'd like to comment on this last point.
Sure.
One of the casualties of increasing costs on low-income households is the increasing inability of those households or those individuals to travel to another part of the country to take a job.
Yes.
So by increasing these costs, by slowing down wage growth, we're actually locking people into places where there may not be jobs. And I think that's one of the things that we need to be increasingly attuned to.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would just make the additional point that even though wages, and you mentioned 15% higher than the national average in your own industry, these increases in wages have not kept pace even then with inflation, which has been devastating, which is why it's so critical that we end the inflationary policies of the
I thank
Biden
the gentleman.
administration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Expired.